Welcome to the Lighthouse Experiment, a Freedom Center Church podcast.
Hey.
Welcome back. Awesome. Well, welcome back to the Lighthouse Experiment Podcast, everybody. Welcome back to another week here on the show. Chaplain Jim Parkin and myself, Ashley Chandler.
Welcome.
This is a morning episode.
This is a wild morning episode.
We got up and had her.
So.
It's good.
Yeah, man. Good week. We packed up some snack bags.
Dude, that made me a bit more homesick than I already was. I'm not gonna lie. I
figured.
I was like, dang it! I would have that stuff I just love anyways. But right. I was so proud of my friends, and that was when I shared it on Instagram. I think I actually was like, I'm so proud, like so grateful for. I think I said my community. I took ownership. I'm like, these are my people. They're amazing.
Man. Well, it's cool, right?
It's so cool.
We have all that stuff packed up, and then we have still plenty left over that we'll do some laundry baskets for the fire department.
Yeah.
And then we're doing burritos for 4th of July. Breakfast burritos, of course. And then that's it.
So when are they being delivered? Or did you split them up to everybody's? Because you're going to take stuff to MMR, you and Dan.
Yeah, so what I think we're going to do is stuff will go MMR, Genesee. Some will go up to Saginaw, hopefully.
That'd be really cool.
And then we'll see what I've got. And we'll distribute them out and stuff.
If you take them up to... I don't know who the contact was at Saginaw, but I know that at one point we got a gift basket to my sister's hospital.
Yeah.
So if that happens or we need a contact or something, let me know and I'll reach out. I'll reach out to my sister because I know that meant a lot to them that time around and stuff. So
sick.
That's just so cool. Yeah. How long did it take you guys to do all that?
Not very. Probably about 45 minutes.
That's cool.
Put 4 or 5 things in each one. There was I had all the little notes that the kids wrote. I had most of them. Some of them got misplaced. That happens in a big church, And so we did that. We had some contact cards we put in them and stuff. And so
that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool.
Pretty good.
Cool.
Good stuff. So I don't know what we want to talk about. You know what? I know what. We'll dive into something. So it was pretty cool because we had everyone asking questions last week, remember?
Yeah, that was really fun.
And then, let's see. Let me jump into this. Because Pastor Jim asked a question later. It was the next morning. But then the staff all answered his question. not knowing what the you know what I mean? So it was how on base camp, how the campfire, whatever chat works.
Yeah. So
the day changes and he asked the question and everybody saw it because it was in the morning time.
Okay.
So they were all answering based on what their job, their ministry was. So it was pretty neat. But his question was, what advice would I give a young adult considering making this EMS or whatever first responder gig, their life's work? And then the second part was what keeps me in this business when I could be doing things that pay more and have less. And he put horror.
Okay.
So
that's good. I like that.
Truth be told, I did not do well and I was not a studious person. I just barely scraped by. Never considered doing something that would make a lot of money. Like I've spoke on before, I kind of grew up in and around that kind of surf culture. So I was kind of a little lagger by nature. I did in the Army. When I was a private first class, I was a PFC. My my pre-tax monthly income was $963 a month. So, I mean, of course, in the Army, you have all your clothes and food. And
right.
all the things are provided. But so that was never really consideration for me, like money. Other than doing the like fire stuff and that training and the medic training, I don't really feel like that I was ever wired to do anything where I would be making more money. So like, I'm good with, I enjoy what I do and stuff like that. So for me, that kind of thing, dollars and cents, was never a part of the deal. But as far as like the bad stuff goes, I just think people need to feel like it's okay to be okay with it.
Yeah.
It's a cool culture. It's a cool thing. You can have like the same stoke for doing this as guys have for snowboarding for a living, or whatever it is you do.
Yeah.
Pastoral care, ministry, all the things. It's okay to be stoked on what you do.
Yeah.
Even though the world kind of puts this dark cloud over it.
Yeah.
And like we've talked about that before quite a bit. Yeah, we see some gnarly things, but like, it's okay. And just because lots of times a well-meaning society wants to put this, like, I'm gonna go kind of out on a limb here, but a lot of times, in my opinion, the post-traumatic stress disorder, the PTSD, is the fibromyalgia of mental health. Like, we don't know what to call whatever it is you have, so we're going to stick this label on you.
Yeah.
In the physical, like, medicine side, we don't know why you're having all this pain, so we'll just say you have fibromyalgia.
Right.
That's kind of how that started, and then it as it was researched and developed and stuff like that, it's a thing. But at first, it's just this like huge blanket kind of covering, and I think that some people definitely, for sure, do have post-traumatic stress.
Yeah,
they do, and that's okay. Right. But not everybody has it, and not everybody's got a disorder, and not everybody's ruined by it, and not everybody can't function.
Right. Well, and the more that I'm learning about stress and trauma, even from training and like my own like personal development and healing and journey and stuff, is that the whole nature of life is that we're going to go through challenges and hardships and stress, and we all have to figure out how to navigate that. So really, it's more of a continuum of stress and trauma are kind of on a continuum. And so for every different person, it's different. And then life events are different, and work stressors and family stressors, relationship stressors are all different, right? So we all have to figure out what works well for us to mitigate and navigate through that stress. And I love what you said about, like, you just kind of got to like accept it to a point of it. It's part of.
Right, man. Like, if you didn't know, then you weren't paying attention. Like going into the military, going into like EMS or fire, police. If you didn't know that you were going to see some gnarly things and you were going to have to deal with that, then I don't know if you belong. You know what I mean? I know that's harsh to say, but like, if you really weren't paying attention that this could happen, then
well, it kind of goes down to expectations, right? What are my expectations of this field? Okay, I know that it's going to be. So, like, one of the counselors for Prism Project, she knows doing trauma type counseling for families and children. She knows that there's like 5 different things that are non-negotiable for her to do for her own mental, emotional, spiritual, physical well-being each week. Because she's like, otherwise I know I can't do the job. Right. Because I can't take all this in and then expect that I'm going to perform well in my job because I didn't take care of the stress and the demands of doing the job. And so, and from what I understand, what I'm understanding trauma specifically to be, is when we go through something stressful and we don't feel like we have control or agency over it, we feel overwhelmed and out of control. So like this one book I'm reading right now, the difference between a demolition derby driver and somebody like average Joe that's in a car accident. They might physically be in the same setup car accident, but completely different experiences because one feels out of control and the other one was like, dude, I'm like, this is what I want to do. I'm driving around hitting cars for a living.
It's 100% correct.
So physically, the experience may be different, but the response in the brain and the body and that person is completely different. And so I 100% agree with you that the expectations, being able to accept that part of it and then be able to do all whatever healthy things to help me work through that stress, decompress, process through, whatever that looks like. Because honestly, even though I'm not in first response, I got to figure out how to do all those things with my life and the experiences and the stresses and the challenges that I face.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean,
that's like what I've noticed, at this part of my career is I watch kids come in and they're burnt out quick. I'm like, man, how's this possible? But talking to them over and over and over and over, I see that, well, what has been infused in their brains through the socials and all the things is that you do this, so now you have this disorder and you're messed up and you can hardly function in day-to-day life. And that's just it. And it's part of it. And almost it's like a badge of honor. Like, I have post-traumatic stress. I'm like, well,
then do something with it.
Like,
work Yeah, don't be stuck there.
Well, and here's the thing, man. Like COVID did a number on me more than anything ever has. And then being in an agency that, and at this point, I don't even care who from that agency hears this. They did not take care of us well during COVID because it's a smaller group and calls had to be ran. And we'd be like, dude, people are having trouble. No time. Run your calls. We understand. No, you don't. You don't leave this office. You don't understand.
Yeah.
And it's not, I don't mean it to be a huge knock on their management team and stuff like that, but it's just, it wasn't handled well because there was there wasn't the capacity. There just wasn't the space, the time for it.
Well, also the expressed support. So an employee expresses a need, and those that are looking out for them and are responsible for them don't provide support, or even an expressed, hey, we hear you, we see you, we're here with you, whatever we can do, we will. I know we're limited. I mean, there's a whole different way. Right. Yeah, no.
And the things, and there's to an extent there's also protocols needed to be followed.
Yeah.
Right. They're trying to not have a smaller agency and having bunches of people get sick and then being out, and then it makes it even smaller. So there's both sides of the coin. I understand. But for me personally, it was just too much, too many extra things, too many things you couldn't do anymore, too many people lost. Yeah. And then, well, we would like to have.
Oop.
Whoa. What's up, Sylvia?
What's Sylvia doing on this morning?
Is she joining us?
Is Sylvia joining us this morning? That's really funny because she does have I didn't think we were doing a meeting this morning. Hey!
Did you just join?
Did. Ashley, I said I was going to touch base via Zoom at 9:30, and then I was like, I'll jump on at 9:40. I had no idea you were on, Jim, but
I'm so sorry. Hey. This is really awkward, and I'm so sorry.
All right, I'm leaving.
No.
Stays on the show.
No, this stays on the show. No, so because we had the other stuff, dude. The other things that you were going to do this morning with the other inspections and stuff, I assumed, I did not text you, and I assumed that we would catch up afterwards.
Fine.
So we were.
Yes. That's totally
do you want to say hi and hello?
Welcome to the show.
Hello. I'm gonna jump off.
Hey, what do you feel about people doing the job, stressors in the job, and Yeah, ask her the question, Jim.
Yeah, so that's what we're talking about.
Because you're the perfect person for this.
Yeah. I had people ask me a bunch of questions for last episode, but then Pastor Jim had asked, like, what advice would I give a young adult just getting into the job who could do something else for way more money? I assume I understand him now when he asks me things and says things to me that he's low-key talking about someone specific. I believe he was probably talking about Austin. But he asked me what I would, like, what's the advice I have for people? And my answer this morning was, well, I really wouldn't have ever done anything where I was going to make more money. I'm just kind of set up for this. But what we've been talking about is so many people come in with the expectation because well-meaning society has kind of given them licensure over post-traumatic stress disorder. And so now you have it, you started this job, and you're kind of coming in with it. So kind of in that regard, what do you think about post-traumatic stress? Do you think it's overused? Like, how do you function with what you're about to embark upon by bringing these girls in and stuff like that?
I think first I actually have to recognize it. And I believe it is a real thing. I mean, it's very hard to go from a young adolescent getting into a new field, and then you're seeing something that might be completely different than they're used to. And that's where I believe that, he was probably struggling with that because he almost felt guilty because he's seeing all these things that are right around the corner, and then he doesn't know how to process it when he comes home to a good home life. And so it's just allowing yourself to process and understand, and give yourself grace. And then, just trying to do the best you can that day that, you're understanding. It's just, a lot of it, I really think it's just recognizing it and just allowing you to feel certain things to go through that process. And so, that would be, it's almost like coming off a missions trip, right? So you're just like, you see all these things, you're trying to figure out how to deal with them. And then, but if you do it slowly and just understand that, because a lot of times you're just blindsided. And so you're like, why, I feel like this, what's going on? Well, I can probably tell you it's very hard to go from what you feel is a normal life to complete seeing everybody in their worst element. So that's what EMS is. You're seeing them firsthand in the crisis situation, and then trying to understand how to process all that. So.
Right. And that kind of comes with time, right?
Yeah.
And what I like the analogy with the missions trip, because I remember when we went to Haiti on that first, I think you were on that first time, the first team that went down there.
Yeah.
When we came back, I remember two young dudes were, like I had told Ashley before, that I was like eating Chick-fil-A in the NICU double line because I was like so hungry for like something yummy, you know what I mean? But like, and those two guys, I don't feel like I can eat because of what I've just seen. I'm like, dude, no, you're okay to be blessed to have been born in America.
Yeah.
Just recognize that other people weren't. It's okay to, live in a beautiful home in Grand Blanc. You just recognize that some people don't have that, and then understand what you're dealing with when you're dealing with it. You know what I mean? And I've been doing this quite a few years longer, so kind of the process of compartmentalizing everything and putting it in its space just comes with time.
I agree.
So, I mean, I know I've said this in the past. I think I specifically said this to Sarah Kern years ago of like, yeah, I don't think I could do that. I don't know how you do that. So now I think that's a pretty dumb question, but I think it's a legitimate question from people that may not understand. So let me kind of ask you that in that way. Like, how do you do what you do? How do you willingly set up a children's safe house for children that have been sexually abused and trafficked? How do you willingly put yourself in that space, Sylvia, knowing that you're going to have to deal with all of the facility stuff, all of the program stuff? I mean, I think I know some of, but I would like this community to hear what you have to say about intentionally putting yourself out there to be a sane nurse, a physical examiner for, sexually assaulted victims, children, peds, all this stuff. So kind of explain why would you even do what you do? Why would you do this job? Why do you do this?
I mean, the heart behind it is that children are the most vulnerable. So ever since I was like a pediatric nurse, I realized that I'm not there to harm them any further. I'm there to help them. So that's how I kind of compartmentalize it. Like, I'm seeing them at the worst. I didn't physically do that act to them, but hopefully I can be the light to help them get through what they have been through. And so I just keep that in my mind. Yes, it's hard to see all the stuff that's happened, but I am there to hopefully hold their hand and walk them through that process. And that's how I get them through it, or get through it, because it's like, they're like, how can you poke a child, or how can you do that? Well, in my mind, I'm doing it in order to help them. So yes, do I get angry of the things that happen, and all I can do is pray and try to get them out of that situation. So that's what keeps me going. And obviously from God, because I have been super blessed with a huge community, a huge family. I almost like want to give that back, because nobody wants to do anything alone. Like, I've learned that love and consistency is the key, and that's what people yearn for, is that love and just the compassion. And so yeah, that's why I do what I do. It's to help walk through very difficult situations that they didn't even ask for. And so that's where my injustice comes from. It's like, we're going to just throw them away like everybody else because some other human did this to them. No, like, that's where my passion comes from, because it's like, literally, we have done this to, it's a trauma thing, right? So like, it could have been completely prevented, and now we're seeing all these kids and all these things that are done to them and humans, and it's like humans doing it to other humans. I'm like, no, I mean, that should not happen. That, should just not happen, and it's completely preventable. So it's like, you're just, these children and women and men and all that, and it's just like, it just carries through the years. And if we can just like at least acknowledge it and help them through those, then they can hopefully have a decent functional life and break the cycle. And that's all it's about. Like, it might not even be in now that the cycle gets broken, but like, and I may never see the fruit of that, and I'm okay with that. And that's another thing you have to be okay with. Like, you're there one day at a time, but nothing that, if you're trying to help, ultimately it's going to make some kind of impact positively. So
right,
how I get through it.
Right. Kind of on that, for us, for like the EMS provider, that's like the overdoser, who you get them used in Narcan, get them back over and over and over, right? It's the same person over and over and over. And it's like you said, it's humanity, and I think once you kind of get a handle on how dehumanized kind of the world's become, and what we will do to each other. I heard a long time ago, and it's wild too, because it's nothing Christian but I felt it kind of to be prophetic. I was watching Terminator 2, and at the end of it, the lady, I can't remember the name of the character, but she's speaking, and what she says, the thing that has always stuck out of my mind, is she said that it's in our nature as humans to destroy ourselves. And you see all of it, like all of the things, the stuff on social media, you see all the fighting, all the warring, sex trafficking, is like, the money in that industry is just like, it's just crazy. The overdose, the violence, all this stuff is over and over and over. And I think, like for you, Sylvia, and for me and stuff like that, we do this thing, and as you get a grip on that, you kind of have maybe not an understanding, but a handle on the fact that these are the things, these are the facts, this isn't heaven, and this is how it's going to look here. But to be able to be in a position where, like, just because of our nature, just because of what we've been called to do, you improve somebody's situation. I think It's heavy, but it's like, it's a good heavy, you know what I mean?
Definitely difficult, but rewarding. Like nothing like I've ever experienced. I mean, like it is. I mean, experienced before. I mean, I feel blessed that I was called to do such a task that not many people want to do. So I just have to look at it like that. Like God asked me to do this, just to be that light in a dark world until He's ready to come back.
You find that, like, because this thing has come to fruition super fast, because I can remember just sitting around your table making plans in the kitchen, and then it just blossomed. Has it been beneficial to be involved in a thing that's, like, for lack of better, I mean, it needs to be, but it's a kind of a trending mission, in America right now? There's lots of agencies involved, in trafficking and stopping it and getting kids, men, women, children out of it and stuff like that. Has that been a beneficial thing, do you think, to, like, the building of the home and all that stuff? Like, do you find more people want to be involved, at least financially involved?
I mean, it's still, yes. I mean, like when people know about it, they do want to help in a lot of different aspects. And I do believe Genesee County has one of the better grips on being aware, and like, because there's multiple disciplinaries that are involved. So you have the sheriff's department, you have the local child advocacy center, we have the Y for adults, we have the hospitals involved, and it's just bringing that awareness. So it's just those awareness pieces that are coming out, like, oh, it's actually happening in our community, and then having such a community base to rise up, and each of them doing their part. So that's kind of like what the safe house is like, I'm just going to be a piece of the pie. So once they are rescued out and they go to their local child advocacy center for forensic interview, then now we need to start, restorative services. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's just bringing that awareness. And I just saw, like, I think I just posted that, Maxwell got, 20-year sentence for her part of the Epstein. And it's like, and then do people realize what happens to those children afterwards? Do they know that there's no really place for them to go? And it's like, so it's like everybody has their piece. Like, the sheriff's office is, catching the bad guys and putting them in jail. The child advocacy center is doing, helping work through some of that. And then ours would be like the long-term restoration services. Yeah. So it's like, awesome. It's totally needed. Churches are coming together. Like this program, that's why I think it's, God's at the center of it, and it's just branching out. And so that's what I think why it happened so fast. It's just, I'm really, He's at the center of it, and it's on His timing, and it's with the people He needs to be involved. And so, we have a lot of, coverage and prayer, because it's such a dark topic and such that nobody really wants to talk about it, but the truth is, starting to come out that it's happening, right here. So.
Yeah.
Well, and it's cool too, because I've, heard you talk about before how you've had so many different avenues of your story, like, get woven together for this time. And, it's really cool to know you. And I know that you would say about yourself, I'm just another person. I'm just a regular person. And so both your lives extend great encouragement to other people. Kind of in a way of, like, when you get to know Sylvia Blythe, when you get to know Jim Parkin, you guys aren't Wonder Woman and Superman. You're real human beings that have families and do the thing, and even Jim, you and Carrie, just just the way that you are so good with your home and your finances. Like, okay, so I don't make as much as some CEO in, like Detroit or some big city, but I manage what I have very well. And so my family's blessed and provided for, and we have everything abundantly that we need. Like, it's all those details that I see in both of your families and both of your lives. And I think that that's just a great encouragement of that whole idea of, well, if they could do something like that, then I could do my part. I could do what God's called me to do. And there's encouragement in that if he's called me to do it, if I feel like there's something in me to give, I can do that too, you know? So I think, yeah, it's awesome.
I'm so sorry for
No, dude. This is good.
I should have probably cool. your admin assistant probably should have communicated better with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. Love having pop-in guests.
All right. Well, I hope this, I just got out of the shower, I hope this isn't like video, like twice. Okay. But I'm just kidding. All right. I'm going to jump off, Ash. You'll have to.
I'll see you in a couple minutes.
Okay. All right. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye, Jim.
See ya.
That was great. I love that. I'm glad that I didn't communicate with her. I love that we got her perspective, and it was good. It was good.
So I think that's a good kind of like jump, like shutting down point, But I just it's just a thing. If you're called into a thing, you can handle it, But I also will always advocate for if you're not, then you shouldn't be here. And your thing is out there somewhere,
Yeah.
Like speaking of Austin, he's going to go on. He's going to be a super talented, super compassionate doc somewhere. And that's cool. This season in EMS was important. It's an important piece of that. But for those who are called to do this for a lifetime, you'll be capable of handling it. But it's just, if you're not, then you're not, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, again, kind of some of the stuff that I was saying earlier this year and last year and stuff is we're capable more than we give ourselves credit for. So, okay, so I don't know how to.
You're using my door for your pedo?
Yep. Will you give me a minute? I'll be right out in a minute. Okay?
Why?
Yes, Mom.
Isla, come here.
Okay.
Come on.
Go ahead.
Come on.
I love you. I love you.
Sorry,
You're fine.
So good.
It's so good. All our poppin' guests today. It's great. I think that, okay, so I don't know how to do this yet. It doesn't mean, like, we are so resilient. I keep laughing about all the resiliency, all the things that even in the last 2 weeks, in the last month for myself, and it's just doing new things. And exactly what you said earlier, if I can kind of release myself to that process, be courageous enough to say, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm navigating. Okay, now what can I do to be present and just be immersed in this and do something? Oh gosh, I mean, we have such capacity as human beings to influence what's going on around us in incredible ways. And we have such a capacity to overcome great challenges, great adversity, great feats. And yes, there's a cost to those things, but with community support and great like tools, health tools and stuff, I mean, we can do a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I think we'll jump off there.
Sounds good.
That's good. So, thanks for listening, everybody. As always, thank you, Kingdom Builders and Freedom Center Church. And that's it. We'll talk to you next time. I have a guest for next week. It's going to be a pretty good show. Sweet. I'll let you know on the day.
Sounds good.
All right. See ya.